Please welcome to the stage WWD's news director, Elisa Lockwood, accompanied by CFDA designer Christian Siriano.
Oh, I'm going to put this here. Is that okay?
Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Good.
Is this going to be big? Oh.
It's a cool spot. So first, I want to congratulate you, Christian,
Thank
on your
you.
10th anniversate fashion show.
Thank you very much.
And how are you feeling? And are you pleased with how it all worked out?
Yeah, pleased. Super tired, but great. Yeah, no, feeling good. I think it turned out great. It's so hard. You never know what's going to happen in the end. And it's like, because I'm backstage, I don't really get to see anything. So now I'm like watching back. I'm like, oh, that looks good. I forgot about that look. So you kind of forget things sometimes. But other than that, it feels great.
Yeah, you had some great models. You had a front row with Meg Ryan and Cardi B and Whoopi Goldberg and Laverne Cox. I was dying. I was like, holy mackerel, one after the next. So tell the group here, like, what was your message and what were you trying to say with your collection and also the different body types that you featured?
Yeah, I felt like, because it was an anniversary show, obviously the collection was quite vast. It was a lot of looks. But I really wanted to kind of give it a real range, show the kind of world of dressing that I think our customer has, and that was very important. And the idea, behind showing all these different types of women and men, and is to really show that I think everyone can look amazing in clothes, and everybody should be celebrated for their beauty, whatever that may be. So that was very important, I think, in this collection, particularly. This season, especially what's going on in our world. I think that's just an important message, because I think if you look around in the room, everywhere we all are like that. And I think it's very important for, especially like the people who are shopping the product, to see it, to be able to be, more what they can envision themselves in it in that way. I love that we opened the show with Ashley Graham. I think Ashley Graham has changed the entire industry, and I really wanted to show that a girl that does look like her can open a show at Fashion Week and kill it and look amazing, and was so beautiful and effortless too, which I really loved.
Great. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, just so tell us, like, when did you know that you wanted to be a fashion designer?
I was pretty young. My sister was a ballet dancer, so I was always into like costumes and hair and makeup and the theatrics of the performance. I loved, seeing a girl off stage in a black unitard and then running out and she was in a tulle kind of fairy gown. I always thought that was really beautiful to watch. My mom always says that I knew what a bobby pin was before I knew what anything was, which is hilarious and kind of gay, but that's fine. And funny, I just loved that world. I thought it was, really, it was a fantasy dream world. And I think that always inspired. And I think I just was like, oh, I want to make that come to life in some way.
Were your parents supportive?
Yeah. I think my mom and my dad were also both creative people, but never got to be creative because of the time they grew up in, where it was like, get a job and do this. And so they wanted, I think my sister and I, to have fun and, do what we love, which is really nice.
And your sister walked in the runway,
She
right?
did.
Yeah. Did she enjoy it?
She did. I wanted, my sister to walk because, really my sister was my first muse, I always say, because when I was growing up, my sister was very eccentric. She wore very weird clothes every day, and I always thought it was interesting. And I think, so that I wanted her to be there. I asked her the night before the show.
Oh, my God.
Because, let me tell you why. Because I knew if I asked her before, she would, one, freak out and not do it. And I was like, I just want to throw it on you. I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? And she's like, oh, I'm coming to your show. I'm like, well, what if you wanted, would you like to be in it? I had a look ready. And I just thought it would be nice to show the range too, and to really show what a mom that lives in Virginia could look like wearing a great one of these looks.
Right.
Yeah, because she is a mom that lives in Virginia.
She looked great, right?
Right.
And Selma Blair, too. I noticed she was on the runway.
Yes.
Are you friends with her?
Selma's a good friend of mine. I've been dressing her for a really long time, for years, and and Selma's a champion of, so many things, and I think an inspiration to a lot of young women. And I think she was one of the first women to speak up with what was happening in her industry, so I really wanted her to be on the runway in a bodysuit, showing her body that that's hers, this is her world, and to be powerful in that. Sure. Yeah, I think it was really great.
So tell us about your early years. Did you go to fashion school, and how did that shape the designer that you have become?
Yeah, I did go to design school. I went to design school in London, and I, was very inspired there, and I loved it. And I think this collection also had a lot of those kind of, we had early kind of British punk references. We had a lot of references from the Queen's Gallery. So I wanted those feelings because I still, one of my favorite places in the world, and it always will be. And yeah, and then, and I think, Europe is very, was very inspiring, very different. It was, celebrated to be as creative as possible. And I think sometimes, as I've learned, that can get lost a little bit. So I wanted to bring that back with this collection, which is why it was so.
Did you work for Vivienne Westwood?
Yeah, I was just an intern. I was an intern at Westwood, intern at McQueen. It was a great experience, but they were very inspiring because they're also quite creative, unconventional designers that try new things, and I think that's what we try to do too now in my business and world.
And how important was Project Runway to your success, and what did you learn from being on that show?
I think it was an interesting experience all those years ago, but it's a funny thing. It's like it was a fun moment at the time in early 2007 or late 2007, 2008. But very different now. It would never be the same. It's a different world.
Would you encourage students to do that as a route to success?
I wouldn't. No? I wouldn't really. I think,
Sorry.
I'm like, love ya. I really wouldn't. I think, because it's just not real. It wasn't a real, and unfortunately, I was 20 years old. I had no idea about anything. I think, so my advice now that I say is it's unfortunately because the world of television just is such a, like I said, it's not a real life experience, so it alters your perception of the world. And also afterward, you're thrown into so many things that maybe you're not ready for. And so those were the challenges early on in my career that maybe the first few years we had to figure out, which I wouldn't have had to. But it was a blessing and a curse. All those things.
That's perfect. And why did you decide to focus on evening wear? What is it about it?
I think it was just something that I loved. I loved this idea of glamour, whether it was, I loved always the idea of getting dressed. Even though I, love jeans and a t-shirt, which is probably what I wear every day, and I love the idea of comfort, but I just love the idea of transformation, too. I think transformation is very powerful, so when you get up in the morning and you're one way and then you transform into something in the evening, I think is very beautiful to watch.
Sure.
So that's why I love it.
So I know that your clothes have been worn by Oprah Winfrey and Cardi B and Kathy Bates, Michelle Obama. That must have been quite the moment when Michelle showed up in one of your dresses. Nice. And also you were one of the first designers to embrace body positivity in the collection.
Yeah.
So what influenced you to do that? Why is that so important to you?
I think it just was what was happening. We were getting requests from all these amazing women, and it was like if you get a call from Oprah, you don't say no, and if you do, you're in trouble. No, I just think it was one of those things. So we were getting requests from all these amazing women, and I was like, oh, I was a young brand, I wasn't going to say no. So Whoopi was one of the first people I ever dressed. We dressed her she was hosting the Tony Awards. And I'm like, oh, well, even if we didn't have her size, we would make it for her, So that was always my thought. And I grew up in a house, my mom was a size 16. My sister was a ballet dancer, size 0, too. So that was always also very normal for me. So I just never thought about it. I really didn't. And then as the years went on, I was like, I just think it's funny. It shouldn't be hard to find clothes to wear because clothes should be fun and fashion should be fun, and you should, I don't know, getting dressed should be like the easy part of the day is what I like to say, because it should be.
Right. What about the whole Leslie Jones moment? How did that come to your attention that she
And
needed
the same thing with Leslie. Leslie was having a hard time finding a dress. I thought that was stupid. And so I came to help, and I was happy to help, and we formed a really great friendship from it, and I love her, and I would literally dress her if she calls. Right now, I would do something for her if she needed it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people I work with like that, like Christina Hendricks, there's a lot of people, but I think that's very important too.
Who are your style icons, and who would you say or what is your biggest influence when you design?
I mean, biggest influence is everything. Like, I'm so obsessed with, like, the most random things, which is why the collections are always quite different. But, you know, I just am always interested in something new, which I think helps. I never run out of ideas, which is, you know, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Some days. Unless I make
Do you sleep at
things.
night, or are you like totally going over all these
sleeping.
ideas?
Yeah, always thinking about, always creating, which is good. But that's like what I like. That's like the fun part. The business side of it is the worst. I hate it. Paying the bills, that's the most. I hate that day of the week. Just like the making of things is the best part. Yeah.
And where do you see yourself in 10 years, 20 years? I know there was recently an article in the New York Times last week about Narciso Rodriguez looking for more balance in his life. Like he wants a work-life balance. Do you believe in that? And is that something that you think about?
I will say, as a designer, I'm sure every designer feels like this. Like there is everything in our world is part of the job in a way. So it is hard to separate, I will say, because, you know, if you're not doing a collection, you're doing red carpet. If you're not doing red carpet, you're like working on a brand project or doing I do so many partnerships. We partner with tons of other brands, and then they have projects. So it can be challenging. And then, like, even if you're sitting at home watching TV, and I'm like, oh, I just dressed this actress the other week, and then I'm like, oh, are we dressing her? Should we do that? You know, it's like your mind is always thinking about that. So that's the challenge. So my thought is, yes, I do try to separate and like have fun and have normal things in life, which is a challenge. So that's why I buy furniture, I decorate, you know, I do those things.
I gotcha. Are you self-financed, or
I took on investors about maybe 7 years ago. God, I can't remember anymore. Yeah, we did. I'm still a majority owner in the company, which is great and I'm very proud of.
How many employees do you have?
We have 26 right now, full-time, and then about 30 with part-timers. Yeah.
And you were telling me that you're about to open up another, like a new store.
Yeah, we are. So in a couple months away, we're opening a really beautiful, great flagship store uptown. So that's very exciting. So that's been also keeping us busy. Yeah.
And you signed a beauty deal. So you're like going on all burners. I understand you just did a beauty deal. Tell us about that.
Yeah, doing a small collaboration with Elf Cosmetics, which is a great brand, you know, doing amazing things also. We had been working together for Fashion Week, and I was like, oh, well, maybe we should do something. We wanted to do something more. And I love them because, you know, they just represent a lot of the same values I do. They love diverse women and people. The product is very affordable, which is very important. They do no animal testing, which is very important to me, because we obviously are also very vegan friendly in our collections. All of our fur is faux. All of our shoes and bags are vegan. So all those things encompass that. But the collection's amazing. Super colorful, bright, fun, playful. It's like $8 to $12 for the it's like amazing. You can do your full face, 3 things. Yeah, that was a commercial, but you know, it was great. It's a really great product.
Menswear, is that on your agenda?
We did it. We've been dabbling with men's a little bit this season. I think what I'm learning too now is that I think also what's great about the collections is I'm seeing all these different types of people buy it. So I think the world of men's and women is merging a bit too, which I really think is very interesting, and I love it. I love that there kind of are no more rules anymore. So men's is out there. It's coming more and more, but it won't be maybe typical men's clothing. I like the idea that it can be transitional. Sorry.
Right. And how did the deal with Payless come about? And was that Payless on the runway? All your girls wear Payless?
Payless always. We create really beautiful pieces for the runway. They let me kind of create whatever I want. There were 2 specific styles that are available right now, which is amazing. And I love that they're able to do that, and so people can kind of get something for literally $25 that is direct from our show, which I think is amazing and very special. But I've been working with them for almost 10 years, which is crazy. We've sold a lot of shoes. But I love working with them. I think it's really great. I love that you can be in a $10,000 dress and wear a $30 shoe. I think that's cool. I think that's what having style is. I think that's very interesting. I hope people shop that way.
Do you do a high-end shoe line as well, or you
No, we don't. No, we haven't yet. And just because I love what we do with the Payless team, I think I don't know. I think what we do with them is so special and different, and there's great shoes out there already that other brands are doing. So I'm like, that's okay. We'll stay in my little world right now. Maybe a few years.
I know this season that several designers are bypassing the runway to do different kind of ways of showing. How important is runway to you, and would you ever foresee bypassing a runway show, or do you live for runway?
I do love it. I do love bringing the fantasy world of it because I think, I still think our customers are very inspired by that.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. I also fill a lot of my show with people who buy the clothes. So that's also was something different that I started a really long time ago, which maybe was different to people now, which I know now people are begging for clients to attend their show because at the end of the day, we all need people to buy things or we're gone. But yeah, so, I thought that was always, I think that's just really, they I think feel also attached to it in a different way when they see it in that world because that's where we started. So I think you start in this kind of dream world place and then it comes to life, and if it just goes and starts to hang on a rack, I don't think it's as beautiful to watch.
And I guess today fashion seems to be so driven by celebrity and marketing. And how do you promote your collection? Do you feel that it's important to be in the stores, that there's a face connected to the brand? And how is that whole personal connection? How do you relate to that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I like people, so that helps.
It's a plus.
And I like to travel. We travel to every single retailer that we sell to. I do so many events, so many things.
Who are your big accounts right now?
My largest two are Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's, which we love, but I think I will say some of we have every major city. Even if it's not a large retailer like that, if it's just a small independent retailer, some of those can be the biggest, just because it depends on the clients that they have, which is really great. And I think over the years I've kind of learned that you just have to figure out what works for your brand and your world, and there are no rules anymore, and you have to just make sure that the customers feel good in the clothes and they come back season after season, and that's the biggest goal.
And how important, though, is a celebrity being photographed in one of your gowns?
Well, do you want my real answer? No, it's good. It's great. It's good, and it's great in its own way. I've always had a big kind of celebrity following. I have a lot of friends that are just those people too over the years, and I love dressing them. I still think red carpets are a beautiful place to showcase creative people, whether it's hair and makeup teams or designers or the actress itself or the musician. I still think that's a great moment. I don't always think that a dress on a red carpet is selling out the next day like it once did. And that's okay, though. I think it's just different now. It's more about the brand showing, for me now, it's just to showcase all these beautiful people. And I think that's more important than ever. Because I think we're all, we all have our people that we love, that we look up to. And I think that is why we love the celebrity world, because we're fans of them and we want to see what they're doing, what they're wearing, and I think, but everyone is always like that, and I love that too. I mean, I have my people who I love.
What did you think of the actresses wearing all black to the Golden Globes?
I loved it. We dressed 11 women. It was
wow.
real crazy. Don't do it. But it was so beautiful to see. I thought it was a great moment because I also thought that even though it was all black, every single person that wore something still looked like them. We dressed like Deborah Messing. She was in this really strong, powerful look. Then we did Christina Hendricks, who was in this kind of 60s kind of glam two-piece outfit with a pant that she, wanted to do. Then we did America Ferrera, who was in a sequin gown. We did so many things based on their personalities because the women still wanted to shine through. It wasn't not about that. It was just about hearing the voice as well.
Did you have less time to put this all together this
We
season?
did. So that was fun.
Intense.
But it was for a great thing. So I was down for the challenge. I think my whole team was on board, which is very important. I think everybody that I work with in my office, if they're not on board, then it's a challenge, but everybody is behind everything that's happening right now.
That's important.
Which is very helpful. The people who are making the clothes are like, no, we're going to get this done for this person because we want them to feel good. I think that's really great.
Are you designing a lot of dresses for the Oscars coming up?
We're doing a few, yeah. The day,
Are you allowed to say?
2 hours after the 2 hours after the show. Let me tell you, these actresses. 2 hours after the show, and like, listen, I'm happy. I'm like not complaining. I just think it's so funny. I'm like, can I get a minute? So after the show, they're like, can I have this dress? I'm like, well, I would love to sell it first, and then you can have it. But yes.
Really? They were reserving their dresses?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's hilarious. Which is a good problem to have. I just thought it was so funny because it's like, well, the dresses from this past collection are not old. It was like 2 months ago. So I always think that's a funny thing. That, everybody wants
all about the new, huh?
Yeah, it's such a. I'm gonna start like not showing things, and I'll be like, oh, remember this dress? It's brand new. I do that to buyers all the time. Actually, it's my trick.
Yeah.
I bring pieces that were like 4 seasons ago. We changed the color, same dress. Love this dress. It's so new and fresh. I'm like, I showed you it 4 seasons ago. I do that every
What goes
season.
around comes
It's
around.
actually my favorite thing to do. And no one has caught it like once, which is kind of scary. Yeah.
What would you be doing if you weren't a fashion designer?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm really interested in a lot of worlds. I mean, why I partnered like doing like beauty collaboration. I was a makeup artist. I started that way. I worked in a salon a really long time. I'm really interested in that world. I'm a big interior design fan, so I'm interested in that. So something in that, I think, in those worlds, maybe. Or I'd be doing nothing, and I'm going to take a break. I'm going to work at Samsung.
Samsung has a theme this season, do what you can't, and doers defy barriers. How do you relate to that, and how important are these mantras to your work life?
I mean, yeah, I think it's, that is an important thing because there are a lot of things that we have to overcome every day. So there's a lot of barriers that we all have. And I think as a designer, our one place is the clothes that we put out there and the people that we're putting them on. It's our only voice we have. So I think that's a very important thing for all of us to think about and remember. That's what we try to do to get through that.
And what piece of advice would you give fashion students, having been through this whole last 10 years?
Or anyone that's interested in fashion or any creative world, I think the advice is I think it's really so simple. It's like stay true to yourself, like try new things, believe in yourself, love what you do, be proud of it no matter what anyone's telling you. I mean, if I took advice early on in my career, I wouldn't probably be here because I got so much advice. Oh, you shouldn't do this. You should never work with Payless. I'm like, we've now been together for 10 years. We've sold over a couple 100 million pairs of shoes. Like, I can't imagine not having that. All those things. So I think it's such a cliche thing to say, but like, if you're loving what you're doing, then that's what you should be doing every day. And I think that's a very important thing to remember for people, everybody to remember. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I understand that you wrote a book last season.
Yeah.
How's it selling? And what's it?
Sold out, which is awesome.
Sold out?
Sold out in reprint.
Wow. Oh,
yes,
great.
that was frustrating, but great. I think they underestimated. So that was great. No, we did a book tour so it came out November 15th and we did a holiday push, which was amazing. I did book signings everywhere. We sold out before Christmas, which was very
wonderful.
Great, but also frustrating because now you can't buy it. So we're in reprint and I'm like, hurry up, just because we missed a few cities that we didn't get to do because, but it was amazing. It's a beautiful book. It's very visually stimulating. There's not a lot of words, so it's easy to read, guys, if you're not in the mood to read. I really just wanted to show the creation of a dress, too, which is why it's called Dresses to Dream About, because I think we sometimes lose the process of the work that goes into clothes. People think clothes just like make it into a store, and I think the process is very beautiful to watch. All the work, the craftsmanship, the fabrics, the beading that goes into it. So I show from sketch to finished product in the book. It's about 30 dresses that I love, that I picked myself, even if they're whatever dresses that have never been worn. I just love them, and they're in there.
Great. And my last question is, first, do you believe it's been 10 years? And what would you say was the lowest point, and what has been the highlight of your career so far?
Yeah, 10 years since the very first season feels like a long time, but then it also doesn't feel like any time. So that's like the weird thing that I'm in right now, which is can be frustrating, but feels great. And highest point is that we made it to 10 years. Yes. And we, because it's challenging, the business is really brutal. Those are the lowest points. Like the lowest points are, you can have like the worst, most horrible days. It's such an interesting thing that one thing in the business can change the entire year. One mistake on an order, one mishap on shipments, anything. It's such a fun because it's.
Can you explain like one example?
Yeah, one example. Like I remember early on in the business, we had this is a funny thing. He doesn't work for me anymore, but not because of that. But we had it's the simplest thing that everybody's, we're all human. But I remember placing an order. Instead of 4,000 units, it was 40,000 units. So we had 40,000 units of an item that we couldn't afford. It was like a few $100,000. So that almost bankrupted us that one season, and that's like a very insider thing that I liked. I'm just giving because now that was a long time ago. That was maybe 3 years in, but. I like to tell people that because people don't think about that one small mistake by just a person that works for you can kill you as a young designer, as a young brand, if you have no help, So
Right.
We don't have those as much anymore, and if we do, there are consequences. But yes.
Do you have a CEO? How is your company structured?
I am still CEO, and then I have a COO who runs all of that world now, which is very helpful. And we have there's a very different process to everything now. But early on, you're young, you're naive, you're not sure how things work. I mean, Saks was my first retailer. I remember they bought my first season. I'm like, I didn't know how to sell to Saks. I didn't know how to ship a box. I was like, oh, do we bring it over? Do we walk it? Do we go in the front door? Like, you don't, like, who knows? You don't know. You don't, I'll tell you that. And, because the shipping is very annoying. Those funny things, that you don't know. And there's no one to tell you those things, if you haven't worked in the business, really. And that's a funny thing to think about. But which is why also the CFDA is great because, they're helping so many brands out there, young brands, new brands, all the new brands that are getting in, and they help with that, which I think is a great thing because even 10 years later, even 20 years later, you're still hearing about, we're all hearing about what the shake up in the industry. It's really quite crazy what's going on, even for Narciso Rodriguez, who's been in business for years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so unreal to read about. Carolina Herrera, she's like her last season. I'm like, no, Carolina. But she's probably like, I'm done, guys. 40 years later, she's like, see you later. See you on my yacht.
Right, exactly.
I'll be there.
I'd like to open it up to questions in the audience, if you guys have questions.
If you want.
Oh, I'm the first one. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Stephanie Andujar. I'm an actress as well, so I know we could be a little loquita.
Love it.
Hopefully you could dress me one day, if you'd have me. But my question is, when you do decide to design a evening gown for an actress, do they actually have input on what they'd like to wear, what they feel comfortable in, or is it all just you? Or, how does that process work?
No, it's a full collaboration usually, if it's a very custom piece. And if it's not direct with them, it can be just with the stylist. But yeah, and I think now more than ever, hopefully the celebrity person has more to say than ever, as they should, because they need to feel good in what they're wearing. So yeah, I like it to be that way though. I think if they don't feel good in it, then you can tell.
It's whack,
yeah. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, very important for sure.
Hi, Christian. I'm Tanya James from the Internet of Fashion.
Hi.
And I'm big in the technology of apparel incorporated into the fashion. I'm an ex-buyer, editor, stylist, and I would like to know, how do you plan on implementing technology in your brand?
I mean, I think, you know, we haven't gotten deep into the technology world of too much of the clothes. I think, if anything, it's more about the fabrications that we work with are more important than ever. You know, the faux furs being, you know, acrylic or maybe non-toxic, things like that we're still very focused on. But none of our clothes do anything. There's no heating or cooling or anything like that. I do think those things are very interesting. I just haven't toyed in that world yet.
Well, you're opening a retail store, so
Yeah.
have you considered how you're going to use technology within your retail store? In terms of helping you with inventory and developing styles and just being progressive in that way.
A little bit. Our system that we use is pretty detailed, just because our clothes are there's so much to them. So we're pretty, but it's not necessarily that it's a very interesting technology or special. It just is very, very organized, and every single layer of tool or fabric or fabrication or item that's in there. So it's very documented. So it's more about that we're very interested in, to make sure that people know what's in the clothes or what they're wearing and things like that. So that's what I think we're mainly trying to focus on right now. But also, my world and the pieces that we're making, you know, it's not, you know, there's not hundreds of thousands of them. We're not in that space. So things are still special, and we try to keep it still small, and so we don't need that much to it as of right now. I'm sure the world of Payless has a very intricate back-end system that I would never, ever want to see, let me tell you. They're like, we sold 1 million pairs of shoes. I'm like, how? That's crazy. Where did they come from? I always think that that's very interesting, because when I hear those numbers, it's so staggering. I'm like, how are you shipping that? You know, I always think that is such a funny thing, but yeah.
You're customized and you're personalized, so
Yeah.
when you have your particular customer, you know everything about her, so you can give her the things she wants before she even knows she wants them.
We try. Yeah. If we can. Yeah.
Hi, Kristen.
Hey.
Yeah, my name is Michael Chair with Chair Management Consulting. So I'm going to focus on the business side, because I'm on the business part of things on Wall Street. Where do you see your company in the next 10 years? Are you looking to go public? Are you looking at expanding to Asia, Africa, other places? What is your plan for the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, you know, we're growing a lot. The company has been expanding pretty crazy. Our online business in the last 2 years has tripled, which is amazing. I think there's a lot of opportunities. We sell in so many countries all over the world now. We have a massive business in the Middle East, which is growing every single day at a pace that we kind of can't even handle, so that's exciting. Yeah, which is why we're also starting to open our own more retail, so that's changing. And yeah, there's a lot with the business. No going public yet. You know, I think that's not the right time, maybe a few more years down the road. Like I said, I still own the majority of my company, which is very important right now. I still like to be the boss, so that's very important. I like the control. So, yes. And so that, like, you know, that's what we're focusing on.
Hi, Christian.
Hi.
How are you? My name is Mame Dame, and I have a question in regards to blogging. I launched a blog about a year ago called Mame Says, and it's to highlight innovative women that are dominating the spaces of fashion, technology, and business. First year went pretty well, and I would like to know, as I guess like a young person still in the industry in general, when you had that, I guess when you felt like you had a good thing going, how did you get to a point where you're like, okay, how do I take things to the next level and not get complacent of where I am? Because I feel like you can always do more. to
Yeah.
grow your brand. And I'm a one-girl band right now. I don't have a team. I don't even have any interns or anything like that. So what advice would you give me?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's always so much room to do more things, and that's like really what it is. It's like, you just have to, like really just do as much as you can. Like it's like every single day. It's like when someone's like, we're working on a collection, and we're like, oh, we should stop because we're at 50 looks. And I'm like, no, but I have more. I have more ideas, more thoughts, more things that I want to try. And obviously, I think, I'm sure you're going to have that because, it's still you and you can only do so much. But I think it's like, if you're obsessed with it, like every single day, and that's all you're thinking about, all you're wanting to do, then I think that you just have to push forward and try new things. I mean, the biggest thing is to almost get annoying to people. That's what I do. I'm like, if like you want to interview someone that you really want to interview, like you almost like don't stop until you get that interview in a way. It's one of those things. Or you get something out of that interview. Maybe that publicist says, you know what, I can't give you this person, but I can give you this person. And that person goes into a different person. It's like, that's what we do all the time. It's like, if I didn't get a certain actress at one point, but that stylist works with this person, I'm like, oh, I got her. And then the next season, I got the next. And then it really is like a trickle effect. But I'm really pushy in that way, which is like, it really is a funny thing, though, but it's like very helpful. I annoy everyone. It's great. You should see my emails. Their grammar is a mess, but they're pushy. That's like best advice I can give you.
Okay, I'm the same way, and you are actually one of the people that I wrote down of people who I was actually wanting to interview this year.
Well, there you go. Send me an email.
Gotcha.
I got it. Yeah, because then you get me, and then hopefully you get somebody else cool.
Hi, Christian. Thank you. I'm a corporate strategist. I work for Time Inc. And my question is more around your brand and how you kind of find a balance in the brand. One thing that is pretty tricky for brands is, ensuring that you create the luxury and keep the luxury aspect of your brand while you're going into more mainstream, like Payless, for example. You've managed to balance that, which is hard to do. How do you kind of strike that balance? How do you maintain the luxury feel of your brand, the aspiration of your brand, while making it accessible in the mainstream, which sometimes those two things are just tough to get right?
Yeah, I've always been pretty good at that balance because it was always really interesting to me. I think what's helpful is that my clothing started at a very dream, fantasy, evening, expensive world. I started there. It's very easy to start really high and in this world that it's just not all of the clothes are even maybe that people can wear every day. So it was easy to start there and go somewhere else, where it's harder to start with something so commercial and then go in this other direction. So that was one that was helpful. But two, I will say everyone that I do partner with, like an Elf Cosmetics, like a Payless, anything. I make sure that the packaging is as amazing as it can be. If we can, I make sure that the quality, like all of the quality, the fabrications. I love that the shoes, the prints that we're using at Payless are the same that I use in the collection. So I think that really helps. Even if they're $30, that you can still get the same world. And I actually think that the customer at both places is the customer that is shopping at Payless is very excited to get that. And then the customer that's shopping at Neiman Marcus, I don't think she minds because she knows that what she's getting is just a totally different thing. And I think, so it has never really affected one another in a bad way. Interesting enough, I think it's just worked in our world. I don't think it works for every product. I think that's very important to remember. But I've done so many collaborations too, and I will say every single collaboration that we do, we try to put in the same effort that we put into when I work on just my main label collection, and I think that really helps. You can't kind of turn a blind eye and be like, oh, it'll turn out in the end, because it never does. So you have to be once again be very annoying until the very last second, and I think that that's a very important thing. Even though you can't control everything, but yeah, I guess that's how we balance it. If that answered it at all. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I wanted to ask you if you have a relationship with Heidi, or do you design for her?
Wait, with who?
With Heidi. Heidi from
Who?
Project Runway.
Oh, Heidi?
Heidi.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I know Heidi. I've known her, obviously. Yeah, we make her clothes. She wears things. We've been friends for a long time. So, yeah, she's easy. Heidi's easy to dress. I'm like, she, you know, they call, I'm like, you need a dress? Core here. I don't even think about it anymore. I'm like, she's such an easy person to work with. It's a dream. So that's also very nice. What else? Anyone interested in anything?
Oh.
Ask something. No, I'm just kidding.
Drama. Style-wise, are there any like colors or silhouettes that you would never do?
Oh my gosh, I don't think so. You know what's interesting? Somebody asked me that the other day. They were like, colors you hate. I'm like, I never think about that. And I'm very open to like the whole world of like color and texture and pattern and interesting things. I think there's just things that I maybe don't gravitate to when I'm picking out fabrications or picking a color palette. And obviously I'm not like, you know, we're not making jeans and a t-shirt every day, so it does help that but I will say, I mean, you know, even though I love maybe a neutral earth tone story, I haven't really done it a ton in my brand, which is probably more just from the customer's reaction, not necessarily because I don't love it. It's because if anybody asks me for a pink gown one more season, I might die, but it's just what happens. And you know, you have to also make sure that you have those options available. But no, I'm very open to things, which is why, you know, yeah, which is why I think I like to still have fun with what I'm making every season, you know? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sherry Sirota. I'm the Director of Fashion Merchandising at LIU Post University. I always talk to my students about inspiration, and I'm wondering, and I use the word zeitgeist a lot in terms of just drawing from culture. I'm wondering what your inspiration is, and if you could cite any examples of an inspiration before a collection, and just what inspired you to make that specific collection.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with everything. That's like a very helpful thing. I'm obsessed with cultures and other countries and travel and places. Everything, you know, it can be furniture, it can be a pillow, it can be anything visual. I get really interested in a piece of art, a place, a gallery, you know, all these things. My biggest thing is you have to, I think the biggest thing to be inspired is to be open and interested. I think that's the hardest thing that people have to get through, is that you can't be closed-minded. You can't think, oh, this piece of paper can't inspire something. If you have that mindset that it couldn't inspire you, then it won't inspire you. So that's been my biggest thing, is like, you know, people are like, oh, have you never been to this place? I'm like, well, I've never been to that place, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't be inspired by it from looking at a photo of that place. And a lot of my inspiration comes from, you know, let's say we did a collection about Africa, and I haven't been to Africa, but it's my dream fantasy world of what it would be like, or what the woman would wear if she's there. Even if it's not real, that's okay, because it's your world. You do whatever you want as a designer, as a creator. That's the best part, I think, of the job, that we basically get to kind of do whatever we want. So, you know, even if, you know, oh, this leaf, this is inspiring, somebody will think about why it's inspiring, this open weave thing there, the color, whatever it is. It sounds like nothing, but it actually is just what's in your head, you know? Yeah. Guys, I'm rambling a lot, sorry.
That's good. That's good.
I'm trying to get my point across, if it makes sense. We're in this room, the lights are intense. The echo is driving me crazy.
There's one more question.
Hi, I'm Farrah Charles. I'm the CEO of the Farrah Charles Project, which is a fashion show that I kind of came about to do for local designers, local models, kind of the people that people look over. So what would be the advice you would give to like a new person coming into the industry as a stylist, wardrobe stylist, and how would you discuss like budgets and certain things of that nature? Because I can do everything. But when it comes down to talking about money, I'm like, I don't know how, or I don't want to say, but when you're dealing in this industry, you have to talk about money.
Yeah.
Or else you won't last. So, like, how do you go about that?
I love this question because I love money. No, but I think it's actually a really great question because it's something that isn't always talked about because it is a hard thing to talk about, but it's super important. Like, at the end of the day, designers, we're in a business. We're in the business to sell clothes. We're in a business to make a product. So that is important. So you have to get it. It's like the first and foremost thing to get through is that you never should underestimate your work, your time, your creative voice, your talent. It's worth something. I talk about this every day. I think I actually don't do projects if that brand or partner or whatever isn't valuing what they're getting. You put a value on it. That's what you have to do. And you have to put it in people's face and in their mind and immediately say what it is. And there obviously can be negotiations. Not everything is so cut and dry, I think. That's a very important thing to think about, too. But I think it's like one of the most important things. I mean, I could have a great, amazing, friend for years that really, really wants something, and if I can't give it to them, I think they appreciate that they maybe get a price for it in the end, because they understand what goes into it. Okay. You'll be surprised, actually, I think. And I give things away for free all the time, too. But then there's tons of things that I would never budge on. Like, I have a rule in my office. We really don't like to sell the original sample because my very first 2 seasons, I sold almost half my collections that I don't own now because I had no money. Which was a really sad thing. But I didn't know then. I was like, and I wouldn't have done it even with the no money if I didn't know. But I was like, oh, we'll never need it, or I just was like frivolous about it. So I think that's an important thing to think about.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that helped.
Maybe they'll give it back if you ask someday.
I did ask. Yes, I got some pieces back. I had to buy them. So that woman was smart. She did. She upcharged me, too. I paid literally more money than I spent to make them. Pretty great. True story, guys. That's my next book. The stories I have. Yeah. It's really funny. Anything else? Are we done? No other questions? Give me one more, like, really crazy one if you want. Or no. This front row, you guys are in pink, feeling glamorous. You got nothing? You're all in a pink story. You got nothing? All right, I'm just checking.
What's your craziest production story?
Wait.
What's your craziest production story? Like, what happened in the production room?
Production room? Insane. Out of my 40,000 unit story, that was the best one. That was insane. Oh, God. Just creatively? Who knows? Every day is a disaster. You never know. Yeah, it's like, the collection is about this. And then 3 weeks later, everyone's like, in the studio, like, wait, the collection's not about that anymore, is it? I'm like, no, did you notice? We changed it all. No, I mean, we change every single day. So it's like, those are the challenges, which is why my team drive them crazy.
What other categories of business would you like to get into, especially in apparel?
We have so many things. We have so many projects right now that are pretty busy. I was really interested in home, so we launched a bedding collection, which is really exciting. It's at Bed Bath & Beyond and a ton of other retailers, so I was really interested in that. We just launched a collection of beautiful rugs, which is also with Bed Bath & Beyond. So I've done all these really great projects in the last few years that I always wanted to do. There is more things, but I think what's nice is I don't set like ultimate goals that I have to have this, because I think those are the times then that I like second guess myself about what I'm doing. So I like things to happen like organically that we're working on, but maybe tomorrow we'll see. We just started doing more costumes and more, not even costumes, but just looks for film. We did some beautiful pieces for Julianne Moore's new film that's coming out, and and that was really wonderful to do. So I would like to do more film and more things in that world because it's a different type of seeing your work come to life because it's on a character and it's not real and it's like playing a story, and I love that. Yeah. Pink!
I have one for you.
Yes.
Did your sister ever inspire you to do a collab for a ballet costume?
Yes. It's so interesting. I've been asked a million times to do dance kind of performance things, but it never has like been we never got to do it, the timing, whatever it was, and I'm really annoyed. So that is something that I would really love to do with a ballet company in some capacity. So that is a goal, I think, now more than ever it was. Because it was something that I just loved. And so I do need to do that. Is on the list. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to write it on the board when I get back. Yes.
Hello.
Oh, now
Sorry.
everybody's got questions. Just kidding.
You asked for a crazy one, right?
But yeah, okay, don't get too crazy, but let's hear it.
I'm going to be very crazy. First of all, sorry because my English is not perfect. I'm not from here.
Oh, that's okay.
And I'm checking your website and I don't see any shoes or sneakers. So are you interested to make a collaboration with my sneakers brand?
With your sneaker brand? You have a sneaker brand? I'm always interested. You know what's funny? That's something, we did a little kind of partnership with kind of an athleisure brand. I haven't gotten into the world of that yet too much. Any activewear, any sneakers or anything in that world. I do think it's really interesting and I love that market. Just something I haven't really done yet. But I'm always open, you know. Like I said, I love money.
Can I DM you, please?
What?
Can I
Yes,
be in touch
please.
with you?
Yes, please.
Do you do jewelry?
We've done jewelry collaborations, but we haven't done it complete. This season we worked with a great brand, Stephanie Cantus, and we kind of collaborated on some beautiful pieces. So I also, if I'm not doing it myself, just with our main label, I do love collaborating with other creative people because I think that's sometimes nice to take. That actually is probably why I can still keep it going because I can take a step away and try something else but without having to take on all the responsibilities of having it. Because having every single product category all the time needs to build, I think, in the right way. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Which I think which is maybe challenge for some brands, which is why they've gotten lost, I think. Because when you have too much, it's hard to control.
Are these collaborations for a season or are they ongoing?
It depends. Some are ongoing. Some are years. So, and most of the partners I like them to be years because I think it takes time to get it right sometimes.
Sure.
Which is within everything. It doesn't always work out the first season or even the second season. And it takes time to build and grow until you get in a groove and make it great.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Christian,
Sorry,
that was
I chatted
wonderful.
a lot.
Thank you.
I'm going to take that.